WHGE 95.3 FM. Coming up, the Open Eye.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression on our people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM, the Advocacy Education Station. Yes, indeed. I'm Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist, here to get that eye open. Hey, Steve, how you doing this morning? All right. Every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. And a lot of people need that today. Yes, indeed. Hey, Sister Sherry, I see you on there. I'm going to get my disclaimer out the way, and then we're going to get it going. All right.
The views and opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
All right. Yes, indeed. I'm going to start right here today. Purification of thyself. Start telling the universe what you want instead of what you don't want. Don't pray for an easier life. Pray for peace, strength, and understanding. Then you can handle anything. Yeah. Hey, what you have to understand is you have to guard your thoughts. Because the universe doesn't say no. In spite of what, some of our people believe. We listen to, Yeah, if we listen to some of the things that some of our quote-unquote religious people say, being more confused than we already are. That's where, it's something when you run into people that with no understanding or experience of what it's like to be black. I tell you how you're supposed to feel about that. I will tell you what you're supposed to talk about. It is amazing. I got a message for those people. I used to work for them. I used to shut them down all the time. I used to work for one. If you are not black, don't tell black people how to feel. Don't tell black people how to act. If you are not black, don't you dare tell black people how to think about our situation and the condition that white supremacy has placed us in. And no, it's not victim mentality. Don't tell black people how to be. Don't tell black people how to look. Don't tell black people how to dress. But you just can't get up off of that, can you? We can't wear hoodies. We can't wear this. We can't wear that. We had to have a goddamn law passed for black women to wear, and black people, period, to wear their hair the way it naturally grows out of her head. Actually had to have a law, the Crown Act. Had to have a law passed. Well, why are you talking like that? Don't tell black people how to express themselves. And that's where, don't tell us what to look at for understanding. Don't tell us what we should be proud of. For instance, what we should be proud of is that one of the great achievements of the Yoruba, because their urban culture, by the year 1300 AD, the Yoruba people had built numerous walled cities surrounded by farms. They had urban planning, management of a state down to a science. There were numerous cities like Uwu, Oyo, Ijubu, Ijisa, Kitu, Popo, Igba, Sabe, Dasa, just to name a few. Egbado, Egbamina, the 16 Ediki principalities, as well as Owu and Undu. Yoruba metal art of the medieval period was world class. One scholar wrote that Yoruba art would stand comparison with anything which ancient Egypt, classical Greece, and Rome or Renaissance Europe had to offer, created with techniques which are lost today. In the mid-19th century, William Clark, an English visitor to Nigeria, remarked that as good an article of cloth can be woven by the Yoruba weavers as by any people. In durability, their cloths far excel the prints and homespuns of Manchester in England. The recently discovered 9th century Nigerian city of Irido was found to be surrounded by a wall that was 100 miles long and 70 feet high in places. The internal area was a staggering 400 square miles. It's a major urban area, major city. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Yes, indeed. But why do you always start off with some African history? And sometimes it's African American history, but it's all African history, huh? Yeah. Because it all began in Africa. Yes, Africa. There's really no getting around it. It all began in Africa. From some of us, I can hear the objections right now. People will say, but Africa is a white man's name. Okay. Actually, we are really not sure where the name Africa comes from. There are different theories. I contend that it came from ancient Africa. Af, meaning house. Ra, meaning God. Ka, meaning spirit. Africa, house of God, spirit. But there is hypocrisy there because these are the same people who are quick to refer to indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere as Native Americans, when we surely know that the name America is of European origin? Or you will call yourself the Asiatic black man. But Asia is clearly a European term. Or an indigenous Australian, when Australia is purely a European term. Seem to want to have it both ways, let's face it. A lot of us are just taught from cradle to grave to be anti-African, and we do it instinctively because white folks have taught us to. And some of us would rather be anything other than African. And so we choose words like Moor, Mer, Negus, Native American, Hebrew Israelite, Asiatic black man. We should strive to be honest and consistent. Otherwise, we're just playing ourselves. Don't run from Africa. Run to it. It's that slave mentality. Because you have allowed others to define you. And you have allowed our oppressors to equate Africa with slavery. And the last thing anybody wants to be is a slave. But stop equating Africa with slave. There is no national consciousness without awareness of cultural identity in the political context. African national consciousness exists when people of African descent perceive themselves as representing one cultural, genetic, historical, spiritual, political, ideological entity, the African world community. And I go with that because I was born and raised a Pan-Africanist and understand the importance of joining with our brothers and sisters in the motherland and throughout the diaspora. Yes, I'm well aware that we as African Americans have become a tribe unto ourselves, but that doesn't separate us from the motherland. What's up, Juan? And the oppressor can never be trusted as historian. Our task is preservation. Collective memory is a liberation practice. Remember and tell it. That's a quote from Cole Arthur Raleigh. And don't be fooled. If Caucasians were truly superior, they wouldn't have to hide so many truths, perpetuate so many lies, and work so hard to handicap those whom they have deemed inferior. Not so. Because the enemy knows exactly who you are and has done a great job of making you forget your identity. Your job is to understand why you have been oppressed, why knowledge of self was stripped, and reestablish the God figure you once were. Understand that. Don't let them fool you. Like I said, don't run from Africa. And that comes from Runoko Rashidi, great historian. Studying the ancestors. All right. WHGE 95.3 FM. Open Eye. All right. I'm Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist. I recently heard some people discussing religion and what have you. And of course, these people were Christian. And they claim they know. No, you don't know. You believe. It's a matter of faith. I'm not satisfied to believe, especially when I've done a little studying and found that all of them are man-made religions. Okay? Like Dr. Clark teaches us, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are male chauvinist murder cults. Now, Christianity, of course, the European religion, with the earliest manifestation of that being the Roman Catholic Church. Martin Luther broke from the Roman Catholic Church, created Protestantism. And out of that came different denominations. Now, besides Christianity, you have, from what I've studied and from things that I've read, some 4,000 religions, each claiming to be the Word of God. In Christianity alone, you have several denominations. And it's interesting to watch our people, talking about black people, adhere to the different denominations in such a way as to be in competition with other denominations. Oh, you're a Baptist, oh, you're a Methodist. I came first with Baptist because the Baptist denomination or religion was created in 1608. That's on page 95 of Spiritual History, 1608. Founded by John Smith. Charles Parham created the Pentecostal denomination in 1901. That's at the bottom of page 98. Joseph Smith founded the Mormon religion in 1830. And I really give side eye when I see black people that are part of the Mormon religion, because they're one of the most blatantly racist, even though they did some changes to show that they welcome black people in. Founded in 1830. Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, the people that knock on your door 7:30 in the morning, Saturday morning. That was created by Charles T. Russell. They're another racist group. And it's founded in 1872. All these are found late in history and the history of spirituality. William Miller created the Seventh-day Adventist denomination in 1863. And go back some. Constantine, the first Christian emperor, introduced the pagan doctrines of Trinity, Easter, Lent, Sunday worship, the Christian cross, Christian fish. Christianity at the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. By that time, the African had established spirituality dating back 100,000 years or more. And I look at our people, and you're going to give up 100,000 years of spiritual understanding, founded, researched, studied by your own people, and go along with some stuff that just started yesterday. Damn. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. all right. We have to stop allowing others to dictate our terminology, the language that we use, to define our propaganda. White racists turning the word woke into a pejorative is why Black history and culture will always need its own independent institutions to survive. Every time I see that word used in the wrong way, I cringe and think, how did we let them do this? I have to say, I have to give it to them, to them white supremacists. They are pretty good at propaganda. They will take a word and turn it against us. Because the earliest known examples of wokeness as a concept revolve around the idea of Black consciousness. Waking up to a new reality or activist framework and dates back to the early 20th century. The phrase "stay woke" turned up as part of a spoken afterword in the 1938 song Scottsboro Boys, a protest song by blues musician Huddie Ledbetter, also known as Lead Belly. The song describes the 1931 saga of a group of 9 black teenagers in Scottsboro, Arkansas, who were accused of raping 2 white women. Hey, Dave. The phrase "stay woke" has history in African American vernacular English as far back as the 1930s and maybe before that. In some contexts referring to an awareness of social and political issues affecting African Americans. The phrase was uttered in lyrics of recordings by Leadbelly in the mid-20th century and the post-millennium by Erykah Badu. By all means, stay woke. And a quote here from Malcolm. This is purportedly his last written word. After the Emancipation Proclamation, when the system of slavery changed from chattel slavery to wage slavery, it was realized that the Afro-American constituted the largest homogeneous ethnic group with a common origin and common group experience in the United States. And if allowed to exercise economic or political freedom, would in a short period of time own this country. Therefore, racists in this government developed techniques that would keep the Afro-American people economically dependent upon the slave master. Economically slaves. 20th century slaves. It's from Malcolm X. Now, that part where he said, in a short period of time, the African in America would own this country. Some of our own people would look at that with askance. But that's reality. Because if you look back at the first Reconstruction after the Civil War, I say the first because there was a second Reconstruction. I'm going to teach you about that. Within 10 years after slavery, because we have remembered our knowledge of managing the state, within 10 years, we had built up communities that were not only competitive with white communities, but outpacing them. And this scared the hell out of the mayonnaise mafia. It scared the hell out of them. And that's why they came after us, because like I tell you, this is the reason why a white man with a nickel, nothing he hates more than a black man with a dollar. You know, it's something that they're going after the education department when Tangerine Tyrant gets back in office. And you know, it's something that these people aren't smart enough to realize that it's an insult when he said to you, oh, I love low education people. I love people without higher education. And it's just hypocritical that a bunch of billionaires with Ivy League degrees are trying to convince an entire generation of unemployed people they don't need an education to be successful. Why is it good for them, but not for you? Okay, who is it? His son-in-law, the Tangerine Terrace son-in-law, Jared. What is his last name? I forgot his last name. Some of y'all can help me out with that. When they had that controversy of these rich white people paying out millions of dollars to get their children in Ivy League schools. Yeah, one of these rich Ivy League graduates pushing to get their son in school paid $2 million for their son to be accepted to one of these Ivy League schools. How goddamn dumb is your child that it cost you $2 million to get them in school? Jeez Louise. And I'll tell you why. All right. Now, first we're going to deal with being a good slave. And don't think that just Africans are enslaved. That's slaves. And many captured Africans vow not to be a good slave. The slave owners generally consider a good slave to be one who was compliant, obedient, hardworking, and did not resist their authority, often showing deference and respect, while also being physically able to perform demanding labor on plantations with minimal complaint. Key characteristics of a good slave included submissiveness, not questioning orders or attempting to rebel against their master, high work ethic, performing assigned tasks diligently and efficiently, physical strength, being physically capable of heavy labor in harsh conditions, loyalty to the master, showing devotion and allegiance to the slave owner, acceptance of their status, not actively seeking freedom or plotting escape. And let me go back to this other thing I said. Why are a bunch of Ivy League graduates who are billionaires trying to convince an entire generation of unemployed people, not just black people, that they don't need an education to be successful? Because an educated slave is not fit to be a slave. WHGE 95.3 FM. When I. I'm Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist. Yes, indeed, putting some drops on your third eye this morning. You know, it's something, FAFO. What is FAFO? You can go in on the internet, you know, any of the sites, Instagram, TikTok, and what have you, and put in FAFO, F around and find out. And that's what's been going on. And some people get mad about it. Yeah, they getting really upset about effing around and finding out. Because they finding out the hard way. Hey, some of these hardcore red states like Arkansas. Arkansas just passed a law, all right? And they didn't just pass it. They probably passed it right after the Supreme Court turned over Roe versus Wade. But this law passed will allow a rapist to sue their victim for wanting an abortion. Let that sink in. They let the rapist, and rape is not about sex, it's about violence and control. It's part of war culture. And they let the rapist sue if his victim doesn't carry his child to term. And of course, then, you know, you can sue for child support as the victim. How sick is that? I seen this young lady who was in a red state, whose husband effed around and found out he voted for Trump. Okay. And she does not want to get pregnant. Because if anything goes wrong with the pregnancy, for instance, if there's some bleeding or something, and she goes to the emergency room, the doctors are not going to want to treat her because they are afraid that they will interfere with that pregnancy and be thrown in jail. So they will leave her to bleed out and die. So what this young lady said, you know, I can't take a chance on getting pregnant because if something happens or something goes wrong, I can't get treated. And I can't take a chance on having sex because they're outlawing contraceptives. So you effed around and found out, now you ain't gonna get no loving because you going celibate. Yeah. And how can you blame her? All right? Because now, you know, with this Project 2025, they want to put in a way to track a woman's period. So she's late on her period in August. And then all of a sudden in August, we'll come after August, September, October, and then in October she has a period. Okay, how was she late and she didn't have no period in August, and now here we are in October and her period came. Her menstrual cycle happened. She must have had an abortion, lock her up. This is what we're dealing with here. Mm-hmm. 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 Now, for those that I want to say, well, you're looking at things wrong, you know, and how can you not go along with the Christian thing to do and carry that baby to term? That's those nationalist Christians, what I tell you last week. Nationalist Christians are nothing but the Klan in Christian drag. Mm-hmm. And don't get it mixed. Don't get it mixed. Yeah, I'm not that big or that hype on liberals. Because they always been shaking. That dates back to the time of abolition. Yeah, we had abolitionist allies. And I'm not real interested in allies because they will turn on you. I'm interested in accomplices. There's a big difference between an ally and an accomplice. You know, it's like how you tell the difference between a good friend and a real friend. You get jammed up, a good friend to say, well, maybe I can help you out with some bail money. A real friend would be right there with you talking about, damn, we effed up, huh? Because they got us. You see, a lot of abolitionists were against slavery. But what they weren't in favor of was living amongst us and recognizing our humanity. That's why you got black laws in the North. For instance, let's take Ohio. This is one example I came up with. Ohio had barely entered statehood in 1803 when thousands of black Americans began arriving from the South. Many were escaping to this quote-unquote free state from enslavers in Virginia and Kentucky just across the Ohio River. Some people even swam across the mile-wide river or walked across the ice in winter, believing that freedom and opportunity waited for them on the other side. Yeah. The black laws of 1804 in Ohio were a series of discriminatory laws that restricted the rights of black people in the state. Black laws were intended to prevent black people from settling in Ohio and to compete financially with white residents. Remember, ain't nothing a white man with a penny hate more than a black man with a nickel. But most of the white men who wrote the state's 1802 Constitution and its earliest laws came from Virginia and other slave states. Excuse me. Many had been enslavers before moving to the Ohio Territory, where slavery was outlawed. Here's an abolitionist state. Them slavers came over there, though. And them abolitionists didn't do nothing about that. The document they drafted did not change that, but it took away a right black men had had in Ohio Territory before statehood, the right to vote. And that was only the beginning. 1. Registration. Black and mulatto people had to register with their local court and provide proof of freedom, such as emancipation papers or witnesses. You had to have your papers in places like Ohio. And guess what? That mentality is still there. Because you go somewhere where it's predominantly white, some white person gonna roll up on you and ask to see your papers, basically. What are you doing here? Do you have proof that you're supposed to be here? And with these black laws. Employment. Employers could not hire black people without proof of freedom. If they did, they faced fines of $10 to $50. With half going to the informant, to whoever told on them for hiring black people. In 1804, $10 was a hell of a lot of money. Some people didn't make but $10 a month. Testimony. Black people could not testify in court against white people. Yeah, that's definitely from the South. And that went on, it was 1804. That went on well after the Civil War. That went in deep into segregation. Bond. Black people seeking to reside in Cincinnati had to post a $500 bond guaranteed by 2 white men. So you still needed white people's permission in a quote-unquote free state. Public education. Black people were not permitted in the public school system. Ohio's new system of tax-supported common schools, public schools, were for white children only. Last thing in the world, they wanted educated black people. To stop black people from moving to the state, the all-white state legislature approved an act to regulate black and mulatto persons in 1804. Ohio's black laws, as the measures became known, gave white supremacy priority over justice. White supremacy priority over justice. See, just because it's legal does not mean it's just. Slavery was legal. Segregation was legal. The Jim Crow laws were legal. Doesn't make it just. See, power makes it legal. Humanity makes it just. Though Ohio was a free state, the law all but made its courts, constables, and sheriffs tools of white supremacy. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Brother Jakeem, I see you. This is the Open Eye. I am your third eye optometrist. All right. You know, if you think busting unions, denying health insurance, paying people as little as possible, shoveling tax money to the rich is going to get your country back on track, you're not a patriot. You're a goddamn idiot. How many times has America had situations and problems where Congress and those in charge of the purse strings said, oh, we just can't afford that. Kurt Vonnegut said, we'll go down in history as the first society that wouldn't save itself because it wasn't cost effective. Damn. See, this is how you get stuff going on the way you do. Because you voted for a man who defrauded people with fake school and want him in charge of your kids' education. That level of stupidity is one of the ills in America. Someone say, "We never seen anything that don't." Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have. White elites have been fooling white people into voting against their own interests since before the Civil War, like I always tell you. Trump somehow got millions of Americans to forget he had $8 trillion to the debt, lost millions of jobs, imported a pandemic, was impeached twice, convicted of various crimes and frauds, took power with the help he publicly solicited from a hostile foreign power and incited an insurrection. Yeah, that's right. And now, Brother Jakeem said, too many of our folks are addicted to disrespect, and we are complacent in things that matter. And we don't understand that we are the global majority. Okay? But here dealing with this FAFO, you got these people. We should have let them drink the bleach when he told them to. We should have just let them drink the bleach. That's word. And now you got these idiots Oh, yeah. I voted for Trump because he's going to protect the Affordable Care Act and get rid of that Obamacare. You moron. You moron. Yeah. And you got these people. I seen one guy, his wife leaving him. He voted for Trump. Oh, well, we can't just separate just because of the difference of political views. It's not just the difference of political views. Because what you did was you voted for your own wife's oppression. And then you sat there and you watched these people run around talking about, yeah, your body, my choice. Yeah, that's what you did. And you joined up, like you said, Jim and Jane Crow. Jim Crow is back. Yeah, that's word. And you got these people that then effed around and found out. You didn't get invited to Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you got people that you've been friends with for 20 years telling you they don't want nothing to do with you. Now you're up here crying. And like I heard this sister say, you don't get to be the villain and the victim. You don't get to vote Cruella de Vil in the office and then run around crying about where the hell the puppy's at. Dumbass. Jeez Louise. WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. FAFO, right here on Open Eye. FAFO, F around and find out. Yesterday was Black Friday. Yeah. That's the big shopping day. First big shopping day of the holiday season. And I seen several videos where Walmart parking lots were empty. It was roaches running through the store unmolested. Nobody was stepping on because there wasn't nobody there. FAFO. Walmart. Why Walmart? You shouldn't have been shopping there no goddamn way. Walmart is on this list. You list the companies to boycott. Revlon, Starbucks, KFC. You want some fried chicken? Come over to my house. I can cook fried chicken. I damn sure can. Lego, Puma, Burger King, Pepsi, Disney. All these foods donated to the orange disaster that's going to F up their bottom line. Oh, yeah. Walmart didn't even wait till he got in office. Walmart has confirmed that it will curb some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The country's largest retailer said it will no longer use the acronym DEI in company communications and will wind down the Center for Racial Equality, nonprofit that established in 2020. Walmart also said it will no longer require racial equity training for staff and will no longer participate in annual human rights campaign rankings. The company follows Ford, Lowe's, Boeing, Harley Davidson, and scaling back corporate diversity initiatives following pressure from white supremacists. We are about to enter a new and intensified area of race-based discrimination against black people. We are at the end of government-enforced civil rights. The election of Trump sets us back to pre-civil rights era. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So community leaders are calling for boycotting Walmart. And guess what? Some people listen. We have to remember, and if we were a nation, we would be if black people were a nation, we would be the 10th richest nation in the world, maybe the 8th. With buying power of over $1 trillion. Yeah, Brother Vaughn, we hear you. Do not celebrate any holidays for the next couple of years. That's what it is. You want to buy your children some Christmas gifts? Go online and find some black businesses and buy it from them. And stop telling them Santa Claus came down the chimney. Because you know goddamn well ain't no old fat white man came down your chimney and gave your kids a effing thing. Stop that. Yeah, and that's why a group of leaders, pastors, faith leaders and all are calling for a boycott of Walmart. Mm-hmm. In response to the company's recent decision to roll back diversity, equity, and inclusion. And see, that's another term that they have turned into a pejorative. DEI. And you know what? What we need to do is using that term. And you can use it for Trump's whole cabinet. For everybody he done picked out for his cabinet. Didn't earn it. Didn't have the experience, the wherewithal, or the intellect to be there. The only qualification was your whiteness. DEI didn't earn it. When we're talking about a mayonnaise brigade, they didn't earn it. Yeah, that's what it is. Now, Walmart effing around and finding out. Yeah. You know, the Associated Press reported that Walmart's rollback of diversity efforts will be particularly appalling. The company plans to pull out numerous commitments to diversity it made in 2020 following George Floyd's death, and will no longer consider race and gender when determining supplier contracts. It also plans to stop participating in the Human Rights Campaign annual survey that tracks LGBTQ plus inclusion in the workplace. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the boycott of Walmart began at 8 p.m. And guess what? Yeah. Walmart was empty. People walking around there whistling Dixie. Yeah, you can whistle that crap all you want. That's right. See, what you have to understand is what's coming. And let me take a quick musical break as well. It's coming to a close here. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right. What I want to get to, what I want you to understand is we are coming to the end. Okay? We're coming to the end of the second Reconstruction. See, the first Reconstruction was after the Civil War. From 1865, it lasted up to about 1877. So, Brother Rakeem. That was the first one. And what happened to the first Reconstruction? Yeah, You had black people in Congress, first black senator, first black lieutenant governor. This was during the 1870s. And see, what allowed this to go on was the federal government protected the black population in the South from the white terrorists like the red shirts and the Ku Klux Klan and the White Council. And in a dirty deal, the Republicans of the North made a deal with the Democrats of the South. Of course, these two parties' ideologies have switched over the years. Can't trust neither one of them. But to get Rutherford B. Hayes in the White House, the Republicans in the North agreed to forgive the South for the Civil War and pull the protection out of the South for black people. And that was how the first Reconstruction ended. Now, the second Reconstruction, starting really in 1965 with the Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, and what have you. And it really didn't kick in until about 1975. And by 1980, white people had enough. That's how you got Ronald Reagan in office, made roasting hell, made the devil sodomize him with a pitchfork. And you had the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Shelby County versus Holder. This was the beginning of the end of the second Reconstruction. A first experiment with Reconstruction fading in history when congressional Republicans with Southern Democrats conspired, in effect, to trade away the rights of the newly franchised former slaves in order to ensure the election, and like I said, of Rutherford B. Hayes. He was a Republican. It was a tight presidential race. Okay. So the Southern Democrats, who are basically the Republicans now, were willing to give up the White House if federal troops ended the occupation of the repatriated Confederate states. Unlike the Compromise of 1877, when the Republican president abandoned the pretense of a federal commitment to the ideal of equality and civil status for former slaves and free blacks, the latter day Reconstruction has been dealt a fatal blow by the Supreme Court. The court's decision in the Shelby County of federal withdrawal of another sort has a potential to create an environment where, sadly, history could repeat itself. And that's when you're going to get the return to stop and frisk. Because now, the second Reconstruction ending is going to be nationwide, not just in the South. Not just in red states. Because it was never just in red states, because segregation, second-class citizenship for black people was nationwide. You had those that want to return to that. So I want to ask you, how many of our children do you have to kill before we catch on? I watch black people wait with prayer, cross fingers, and marches that the devil would for once, be righteous and just. Are you nuts? I was a snake, and you surprised I bit you? Now I'm watching black people react with anger and disappointment because they pin their hopes on a different outcome. Until black people accept the full understanding of what is taking place and react accordingly, it's going to continue. And you got some black people that's like, well, pretty much just like, I give up on it. Give up and do what? How dare you? Let me remind you. So you mean to tell me, and I've said this before, I've given you this before, You mean to tell me that someone down your ancestry line survived being chained to other human beings for several months in the bottom of a disease-infested ship during the Middle Passage, lost their language, customs, traditions, picked up the English language as best they could, while working free of charge from sunup to sundown, from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, as they watch babies sold out of their arms and women raped by ruthless slave masters? They took names with no last names, no birth certificate, no heritage of any kind, braved the Underground Railroad, survived the Civil War, the entering the sharecropping, learned to read and write out of sheer will and determination, faced the burning crosses of the KKK, averted their eyes at the black body swinging from ropes hung on trees, strange fruit. Fought in world wars as soldiers would return to America as boys. Marched in Birmingham, hosed in Selma, jailed in Wilmington, assassinated in Memphis. Segregated in the South, ghettoed in the North, ignored in history books, stereotyped in Hollywood. And in spite of it all, someone in your family line endured every era to make sure you would get here and you receive one rejection, face one obstacle, lose one friend, get overlooked, and you want to quit? How dare you entertain the very thought of quitting? People you will never know survive from generation to generation so you could succeed. Don't you dare let them down. We are the ancestors' dream. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. All right. Coming around to the close, that hour goes by quick. Yes, it does. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something, because I know I learned something before I got here. I was able to pass it on. As we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you. Don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. This has been Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm Patrice Gibbs. All right. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. That's word. Hope I gave you enough to go forward. Keep up the fight. And like I always tell you, global African supremacy, because the world was a much better place when the African ruled. I'm Patrice Gibbs.